Let's go.
This is so
What's an
funny
equality
because
horn? I like that.
now
Yeah,
that now that we're live, 10 minutes in,
yeah.
everybody that was here has gone because they were probably tired of waiting on the
Yay.
queers.
Yay.
It's
It's
just
fine.
us. It's a
It's
party. The
just
girls
us.
that get it.
We're
But
just
isn't it?
geeking.
It's going out somewhere, isn't it,
It's
afterwards?
being recorded. We've
Yeah,
got it. It'll be on YouTube. We'll do some post-show marketing.
exactly.
Baby weight, Stephen, thanks for joining me.
Absolute pleasure, my darling.
So
Happy Pride, everyone.
congratulations on the track. First, tell me about the track. Second, happy Pride, everybody.
Um, Happy Pride, everyone. Um, okay, a little bit about this track. Um, about I want to say 2 years ago, Beatport teamed up with Loop Cloud to do this series, and it was called Pride Unmuted, and it was a sample pack that they recorded at London's 2023 Pride celebrations, which HE.SHE.THEY was a huge part of.
Mhm.
And what it was a variety of Foley that was taken on the streets. So it was individuals sharing what Pride meant to them, sharing, they were like picking up the sounds of the people, things like horns going off, people cheering and having a good time. And as part of that promo for that season, I was selected along with a few other producers, namely Gigi and 99 Machiavelli. Um, and they tasked us to make like these short 30 to 60 second um, tracks as kind of like examples of what you could make with this. And I made a very basic beat with it. Um, and at the time, unabashedly, I'll admit to this, it's, they say about art, it's like, steal from the best kind of. At the time, I was listening to a lot of Fortet, a lot of Jamie XX, a lot of Aphex Twin. And so I wanted to make something that was a little bit more on that experimental kind of level. And knowing that London has a history of that kind of garagey bass sound, I wanted to kind of make something that was in the spirit of the UK, because that's where this was recorded. And that project came and went. About a year goes by, and I remember telling myself, like, I thought I had something kind of interesting there, so I decided to revisit it and flesh it out into a full track, and kind of added more of myself to it, in addition to the samples that were there. And so it's kind of, in a lot of ways, not just an ode to the queer community, which has, even prior to me coming out, had invited me and allowed me to kind of be a part of their space and to flourish and find a home and a chosen family. But it also gave me an opportunity to pay homage to music that, in the United States, is deemed kind of niche. And obviously now with Fred again and Jamie XX blowing up over the last year, and the UKG sound kind of taking over the US, it's not as niche as it was when I first produced the track. But I have this really deep rooted love for that. You know, thanks to labels like Warp and XL Recordings. Um, I just, wanted to make something kind of special. And so, I was able to find this marriage between those two goals, really. And that's how we got this tune. Very
Here,
long.
chat is where typically we would be showing you the logic session and walking you through the stems and the samples. But literally, how many queers does it take to screw in a light bulb? Like more than us. It's giving. Maybe we'll do some clever editing on
You know what?
this goes up
I
on
was thinking
YouTube
about
and
that. You know how like sometimes YouTubers will be like, we'll see how this goes, and then it pauses, and it's like, "Hi, it's me from the future. Just letting you know it went terrible."
yeah, I'm gonna we'll make it work.
Oh my
But
God, does that make me Logan Paul?
I certainly hope
I
not, girl.
do hope not.
the Maverick.
Maybe it's the brother that gets punched in the face.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Hopefully,
I could be
Jesus.
Jojo Siwaza.
Yeah, I don't want to be on Team John Cena. Are you kidding me? I want to be Team Cody and Jay. Like that's where I want to be.
We should level with you that a lot of Cara and I's friendship, just as much as it is on fighting for equality and music, is also talking about WWE, which
I
seems
know, girl.
very
That's why I
unlikely.
just sat here and took it. I just y'all were doing the bending. I just sat here and took it. I'll let you go
Oh,
through it.
this is Janet.
Stephen, I want to chat with you about the he, she, they ethos as I see it, which is sort of this very clear reclamation of what dance culture is and started as, and being bold, being unapologetic. What sort of drew you to this song to release it and be involved in the sample pack in this way in accordance with those ethos?
Well, it's funny because the ethos to me is kind of like stating the obvious. Like it's really weird. Honestly, I said it when we won the Fem House Award, but it was like nothing. It's crazy just saying everyone should be equal. This is what history showed us happened, that black, brown, and queer people invented this music, which is unequivocal fact. It's now the hardest. Probably if you were like a black, queer guy, young guy, you're really struggling to get booked in most clubs. Like I even think like the black queer women slightly have the above on the
Yeah.
guys from that scene now. So it's like I find it both wonderful that it's recognized, but also just like and it's like Ashton Kutcher gonna come out because like
It feels
literally
kind of silly,
just
right?
stating the fucking obvious. Like you're just as worthy as me. Like women are talented. Black people are good at stuff. It's like, oh wow, you're so smart, Stephen. Like, no, it was just like originally he, she, they kind of formed because in London with Sophia and I had such a like disparate group of friends, not like we need a Hispanic one and an Asian friend and a black friend, and then we've got all the colors of the rainbow. It's just like if you just judge people on their personality, you have disparate friend groups. And we were like, isn't it crazy that we're all this after party and we meet up every time, and yet at these other parties, someone has to be an ally, someone has to be this, someone has to be that. Whereas sometimes you just want to exist because like I'm a queer white guy, my best friend is an Iranian Muslim, like, and it's just because we both got perilously dark senses of humor, like, and also nobody else likes us. So that's why we've been thrust together. So based on that, we just decided that we would go and cast net far and wide. And like this track from Baby Weight is what is it the fourth release we've done together?
Let's see. We had. I'm doing the math now. And after a long weekend of partying, the math is mathing. Um, let's see. We had "Oh Sweet Baby Jesus" was the first one.
That with Maudlin Crew is the B
Yeah,
side.
that was with Moblin Cruz, the B side, and then we had the EP, lovingly and campily called "It's Giving" EP. Um, yeah, it's so funny. The name of the EP is technically "It's Giving," but when you see it on Beatport and stuff, because of the hyphen and you have to put EP there, it just reads "It's Giving EP." So yeah, little joke there. And that had Slay for Me on it and Persist.
Yeah.
And then Slay for Me I don't know. I feel like I can speak for the label when I say became an unequivocal surprise kind of hit.
I mean,
Um,
I must have used that as the soundbed to about 30 videos on, like, just because because of the lyrics in it, it just speaks to everything that we're kind of about between us. And there's that
yeah,
remix, is the Felix Jan remix, that's like it was on the RuPaul Drag Race tour as one of the sound beds for that. And it's just, I think just a load of people resonate for it. It's just a great piece of music. Like, and actually Mortal and Crew gets used a lot. Like I tend to
yeah.
be the socials, so I'm like I'm very across. But like you're probably 40% of our socials I put out.
And
Like, not that we've
I'm
got
just
favorite.
Oh God.
but if there was a Mount Rushmore of he, she, they artists, I feel like it would probably be Sarita, Minx, me, and someone else, and that rotates every so often.
I need that
Rotating
to be
head.
like the next tour series, Steven. Like I need that to be a concept come to life. I need that. Like Mount
What do you need?
Rushmore of he, she, they with those three artists and a rotator. Like I need that in IRL real bad.
I like that. I Cosmic Cat's definitely in with the shout. We do love a bit
Yeah.
of Cat. I mean, Louise's album, Wax Wings. You see, I
Oh
mean,
my
that's
God,
very
that
different.
Louisa album. As an aside, I had just my friendship with Sophia and Steven had just started, and I was in a record store. I live in Annapolis, Maryland, which is like a really kind of um, waspy, hoity-toity polo shirt, boat
It's a
shoe.
military town, right?
Yeah, it's also a military town. The Naval Academy is there. It's devoid of culture. Their idea of culture is the fact that we have an Olive Garden, a Red Lobster, and a Cheesecake Factory within a 1 mile radius of each other.
Not too
Like
much on that
that's
trio as well. Like not let's not forget our roots. Okay, girl. Like
um but the
I've still not been to an Olive Garden, and I feel worse off for it.
you know what? When you're there, you're family, Stephen.
I mean,
Uh
my boyfriend's just been discussing it, how quickly I can eat fried chicken before this call. He's like,
yeah,
he's like,
yeah,
you can heat it up afterwards. It's like, no.
yeah, it's true. Cold fried chicken, no, doesn't work, honey. Um but to my point, I was in this small record store. It's literally maybe the size of a shoebox. All right. Matchbox, absolutely. Shoebox, pushing it. I was walking around, and I'm the only one who buys electronic records, right? And the guy is like, "Oh, we have new dance records in." And in that batch of dance records, I shit you not, was the Louisa record, the album. And I went, I am buying this immediately. Um, because I was like, what are the odds? What are the chances that I started a conversation with these two insane, London savages, and
Fair.
uh, we're chit chatting. They have an album out by Louisa, whatever, and then the very next day, I happen to be, just browsing, and I come across, this champion of an album. Um, so yeah, long story that has nothing to do with what we're talking about today, but um,
well, you've said that he, she, they
yeah,
love working with them because they encourage you to think outside of the box.
yeah.
So when you're
Yes.
going
I
through
mean,
that list of artists, I'm thinking of artists that are very much thinking outside and working outside of the box. What does it feel for you as a queer creator to have that freedom as you create, and what does it feel for you,
I
Stephen, to
mean,
create a
I mean,
place?
we once let Cara go and be like, Cara has this idea because she's got a song called Sweet Baby Jesus. And Cara was like, do you think I could be Jesus and the Virgin Mary? And we're like, yeah. There was no, there was no debate about it. It was like, yeah, fine. Like,
Yeah, and to that point, I feel like creative direction with Steven and Sophia is beautiful because all too often, especially like with a lot of record labels in the house music space, not to name names, but they want to keep to like a very um
like formulaic kind of like
yeah, like not to
no
call
one
it
is bigger than
basic
the
because they
record
have
label.
designers,
Yeah,
but they want it to kind of look like books on a bookshelf,
Mm.
just very uniform in a lot of ways. um and I, as a unabashed lover of pop culture, there's like all these like references that I like to be playful with and pull from. And I like to kind of highlight camp, and because that's a huge part of queer culture, and I think sometimes it gets lost on the house music world. um, Especially today, if you go back 30 years ago, obviously there was club kids and stuff like that, like that was a huge part of the culture, but it's not like that anymore. And so um, they've really allowed me to kind of be playful in a way that a lot of labels that I've signed to previously have not allowed me to be. And also, a lot of labels expect you to kind of do your own thing, but only if it fits within the sound of the day. So it's like, oh, this is a really cute record. Can you make it techier? Oh, this is a really cool record. Can you make it, can you add a snare roll every 32 bars because we need to have a build up and a throw your hands up in the air moment. And while I like to make records for a dance floor, I also like to make records that make me feel something, make other people feel something, make people feel connected. And you go on the Beatport Top 10 any week, and not to say that there's not artistry behind those records, or that people aren't trying, or that people aren't putting their all into producing, but it's like a Pepsi versus Coke test. If you were to put a blindfold on and be like, who made this record, 9 times out of 10 I would say something like John Summit. And it's like, actually, no, surprise, it's Clooney, or surprise, it's this person. And like, you know to me, I would much rather make something that's super identifiable and singular than try to make something that feels like, um, within the span of an hour long set, feel like a 1 hour loop. I'm sounding very pretentious right now, but I promise I love everybody, and people are allowed to listen to whatever they want to listen to, and music is entirely subjective, and there's beauty in all of it. So, you know, just need to make that point very clear. Um, but yeah, in the context of this record specifically, um, it's He.SHE.THEY was the only label I saw this coming out on, and I was adamant about it. And I'm sure Steven and Sophia would agree. I was like very pushy about this record, um, because it needed to be in the hands of people who understood that this record was very contradictory from what's happening right now in music. It is a record that is not four on the floor. It is a record that is very sample based, very focused on sound bites, on a message specifically. Um, and it's very percussive at a time when, where the majority of big house records have very angry, growling, kind of rolling bass lines, and, very simple hooks. Um, and this was not that. And I also needed it to be at a place where I felt confident enough that they would allow me to do creative direction surrounding the record in a way that I knew would upset some people. Um, and I'll just leave it at that
Can I
because
ask you, if you see, so to me, I listen to this record and I see the art around it, and I understand who you are as a person because we're dear friends. I understand who everybody behind He She They is because we're friends, and I understand the ethos. I know a little bit more than like the average consumer, right? So I to me, I see this record as an overt political act and statement from
yes,
the record itself to the art to who you released it with. I see all of it as a fist in the air. Did you mean for it to be that? Did it turn into that for you after you
absolutely.
made it? Or was it a very concerted, in this time, especially this Pride Month, especially, like, I am going to say something?
Yeah, it was very specific. Um, when I initially finished the record last summer, it was right around the time that it was maybe shortly before I did Coachella. I made a pointed effort to for that track to be like one of the very first tracks I played during my set to like really set the tone and the expectation of like this is what I'm about.
What
Um,
was the tenor and the air at that time when you did that? Because you're the Do Lab, right?
right. People were
Head
confused.
empty headquarters of Coachella is how I like to refer to Do Lab. That is not derogatory. It's my favorite place at Coachella
Yeah.
and maybe in the world.
But,
So what
but
was?
so with that, it was like we were talking about doing takeovers, and Coachella was like, we don't have brands do takeovers,
Mhm.
and we were like, what about a little takeover, just a tiny little takeover? And we were like, because Coachella has its pluses and its minuses, and sometimes it's been a bit better recently, in like making women prominent and different people. But we were like, let's try and do something progressive, but also like this is a really, really big thing with He.She.THEY. Yes, we have people from across the gender spectrum, racial spectrum, everything. But fuck me, all the music's good. And fuck me, every person who can DJ can DJ. So
Mhm.
it's like that thing of like, pick like with having Juliet Mendoza and Babyweight. It was like, so yeah, he's two people who are incredible. Yes, they're from diverse backgrounds, but also just they're people who can play records really
They
well
just, yeah, they
and
get a
just
room
as good
going.
as anything else. Like if you closed your eyes, you could even think it was a straight white guy. Like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like the mixing's so secret, like it's so silly, but it gets almost to that point, and we were like, we just want when we are doing that takeover, if we have only got a few slots to really just make a statement as to like these people are just as worthy as anyone else and are not because of DEI, but because there was talent first decisions. And yes, there are other people who are good who were straight white guys. And there are lots of other different people from different diverse backgrounds we could have put in as well. But like these two people fit the bill and it was really good. And it was just like also that we really wanted to have it Coachella because like when it's Coachella and we've done takeovers at Glastonbury and these different things in Ibiza, it's not always necessarily that like that's because He.She.THEY's best fit is Coachella or He.She.THEY's best fit is Ibiza because arguably it's easier when it's in Amsterdam or East London or New York or wherever. It's not about that. It's about if you can say that He.She.THEY and these artists have been at Coachella and whatever, it's like when Babyweight said they're like, oh, so who are you? You stop being just a trans artist and you become this person who's played
Mhm.
Coachella, and it just stops 10 questions of just nonsense, and you can
Mhm.
so that's what we wanted to try and do and try and like just show that like diversity and inclusion can be at the biggest, grandest stages of everything. It doesn't just need to be a room with like 300 people that look exactly the same. That's not that's
Mm.
a safer space and that's great. But the point for me is always is that you have the safer space and then you have just public life. And I want it in an ideal world, I want it just as likely that you get booked for the 300 spaces you do get Coachella. And not because of He She They, just because it's the main Coachella draw, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
And also, I wanted that, like, just the almost the, like, really the ideal of he she they is that we help things get so diverse that in some ways we're really we almost make ourselves redundant, like in a way. And then it's just literally down to the best curation, the best party, the best selectors. Like that's what we're trying to do. That's the long-term plan. It's just like, yeah, well, why? I mean, great he she they, but like, look, everything is already diverse. So that's the kind of mindset of it. But I think Babyweight and Juliet both did us absolutely proud. And that's the thing as well with like having an artist like Cara. It's like we didn't we like the visual ideas are really good. Like there's a lot of musicians that aren't visual kind of language speakers as well.
Mm-hmm.
Like which is why sometimes it's good to have that uniformity of just something to fall back on.
Mm-hmm.
But like and you know sometimes like maybe doesn't quite understand that actually there are some artists that you do need to A&R. Cara's like not one of them because if you are an artist that's trying to have like the hit and then sometimes they have like different elements that are fighting at each other and you just need to simplify and sometimes it's like look you've got three different songs kind of going on at the same time whatever but also like when you've got an artist like Babyweight that's just in their own space same thing with Louise it wasn't like that they're not records to A&R they're just like you don't go into a Bjork record and go like I just think it could be more accessible like do you know what I mean it's just you let those moments live and breathe as they live and breathe. Same with like a Tyler Creator or just someone who's got an artistic vision, like an actual artist rather than like a pop star or just like Fisher would get A&R far more than Jamie XX would. Is and
Mm-hmm.
like I would say that you're more in that camp. Like same thing like when I managed my Jane Coles for 14 years. Like maybe that was more here's a backing track, or have you got any ideas of a singer that might work well on this that I haven't thought of before? But that's it. It's not like you join up the artists together and let them make art. And sometimes that might mean that it's 15,000 streams, but sometimes that could be millions of streams. And not every track is a success because it hit some giant streaming quota. It can just be really good art. And like, and I think that's an important thing with the label. Look, I also have a privilege that because of managing people and because I've got this new role as like head of events at Defected and Glitterbox for the world, and same with Sophia doing other things like as well and as manager Cyrena, she there doesn't have to pay my rent now, which is actually even more liberating. It did at one point, but then we didn't always love like sometimes we were doing stuff where as look, lots of things compromise in life, but maybe it's just like I just love the independence to just be like, and what like whoever we offend is normally like someone we don't mind offending. Like, if we did something and then we randomly offended like the black community or women or trans folk or whatever, then like, we'd be the first ones to go, fuck, we got this wrong. But like I think we know in ourselves, like between Ashraf, Dom, Sophia, and I, we're pretty well represented for most things. And like between our residents and different things, it soon comes out in the wash if you've got like something wrong. And we just also just put our hands up and then like you move on and live to fight another day. So I don't know. I do like I don't. It's funny because I want to say something really profound, and I think it's like it's not that hard finding people that are good at art, letting them make good art and putting it out and seeing what happens. Like,
I listen. I appreciate you being candid about the simplicity of that because I think a lot of the problem with sort of the lack of diversity in all areas for all things across industries is that everybody's over fucking thinking it,
Yeah,
and it's just like it is quite as simple as there is a talent pool that you might not be aware of that a lot of other people are. Go figure it out. It's not rocket science. But Kara, what is it, after hearing that from Steven, and creating with that team over and over and over. like walking into Coachella, was it your first time playing the Do Lab at Coachella too?
It was my first time being at Coachella, period.
It was your first time.
And
So, like, what do you feel you walking onto that stage? Arguably the most important dance stage at Coachella, you know? Like, what does it
um,
feel like walking into that with that power, knowing you're gonna drop this track? This is a fucking political revolution that you're about to start cooking up. Like, how does it feel?
I'll tell you how it felt. The first thing I felt was, fuck, it's hot. Um, um,
That's
you
brilliant.
know, just pro tip to those going to Coachella, and playing a set early in the afternoon in the middle of the desert, maybe wearing the long sleeve lace number is not a good look.
Gotta have them breathable fabrics. Can't go
I
out there
mean,
with
it
Yeah,
was it's a great
no
look. It's
acrylic.
just not fucking sensible, but it was a great look.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Aesthetically great.
yeah. And you know what?
Physiologically destructive.
Yeah, we're in the middle of feral girl summer. We're in the middle of, hot music for hot girls and heathens. Like, like sometimes you need to sign up for the Hot Mess Express, and that day it was very much that. I knew that I was going to rub some people the wrong way, not because they wouldn't like the music, just because it was not what they would expect from me, given kind of my discography up until that point. And I had dabbled a little bit in stuff that was not, um, shall I say, music to Soul Cycle too. Um, but because I had a release on Dome of Doom that was, very two-step garage oriented, and I had some other stuff that, flipped the script a little bit. But with Expression especially, and with Slay for Me, for similar reasons, um, the Coachella crowd is I liked Coachella in the sense that there was a lot of variety there. I will say that I feel like Coachella as a festival in general is very much people are going because they want to experience the festival with like music as a background factor and not as the like soul factor. I think going weekend two, though, you have more people that are driven to kind of experience the music aspect versus weekend one, where it's just like people want to be there to get videos of all the like surprises and this and that and the other. And so that kind of presented kind of a beautiful opportunity. But yeah, there was like a little bit of resistance there. Not everybody in the US knows how to, dance to music that doesn't have, a beat on every fourth note. Um, but I think the people that were there, and this is something that I had heard after the weekend, kind of like through the grapevine, was just like, oh, did you catch what's her name at the Do Lab? Because that was one of the most interesting things I experienced all weekend. And I think that um, that's kind of a feather in my cap and kind of added fuel to the fire for like what we're working on currently, which is like a little bit of insight on the Baby Weight project as a whole. Like we're in the middle of doing some world building because I think it's important for people to have a sense of community and have something that they feel like they can be a part of versus just being an artist who releases one single after the other and then shows up to a club and then plays a party and then like it's like I don't want that. It's like I want to create like a mythology where people can kind of participate in or whatever. And this record is if we were to look at my career as a crown, I see Expression as like one of the jewels at the forefront of the crown, because up until this point I haven't held my tongue, so to speak, um but I haven't been militant, like, and with this record, especially with the artwork, with the intention behind it, with who we're releasing it with, It's been a very like affirmative kind of thing. And back last year, when I had the beginnings of this fear that we might be looking at 4 more years of Trump, I was like, this record, I think, is going to be a very important piece to me and to my story. Um, because I'm a child of history. And if you look at the news, there's a lot of things that are happening now that are echoing events from 100 years ago. And we need to have art that is, you know, unafraid to question the status quo and unafraid to put people into a position where they feel uncomfortable. Um, Not because I want people to feel discomfort, but because when you're outside your comfort zone, that's where the magic happens. Um, and that magic, in my opinion, could very well be an open door to creating a conversation about why these things are important with people who otherwise would not give a shit about having that conversation.
Yeah.
You, so um,
I mean, I find there's a lot of people who are like, "Oh, keep politics out of dance music," and it's like,
oh, are you talking about the DJ Mag thing that
Politics
happened a few
are
days ago?
dance music. You know, like what are we talking? Dance music is politics.
100%. We also, you've just got literal, the world is on fire, from trans rights to Gaza to every single thing in between. It's not like racism ended after Black Lives Matter. It's like
Yeah,
all these things are omnipresent. And it's like you can't just be, I'm just gonna keep waiting until it hits me. Because it's just a privilege, and then eventually they will come for you. Invariably they do. And it's like just being a kind of an ostrich with your head in the sand doesn't mean that it's not going to get you. It just might blindside you.
yeah,
And it's like, and I get it. Some people can't. Some people it then like I can watch like 10 hours of fucking like news and like have an opinion, and it really fires me up. And it has done since I was like a kid. But I just find it weird. It's just like, just don't do news. Just don't do it. And it's like, I don't know the DJ Mag thing that happened actually, because I've
oh,
had
okay.
kids with my family, so I've missed this little rumble.
So this is a hot off the press, so to speak. So Expression was premiered by DJ Mag. It was my
Oh,
first ever DJ Mag
oh
premiere.
no, sorry, I know that. Yeah, sorry. I,
Yeah, yeah. Um,
on our socials. Yeah, sorry, I
yeah,
don't know.
yeah. And I had a feeling this was going to happen. But DJ Mag did a collaborative post with us a few days ago on Instagram to promote the record and to promote the story behind it, because ultimately, shout out to DJ Mag, they are willing to put their reputation on the line to amplify, voices from marginalized groups, because they
They've done a lot
understand.
of issue stuff, to be fair, as a just to give them their dues. Like we've had like an 8 page mag where we didn't have to take out ad spend, we didn't have to do any bullshit like that. They were just like, we just want you to tell us about our community in a way that and the piece was written by a queer woman. It wasn't like at no point was it like, I'm a straight guy trying to find out what all this issue they stuff's about. It was
Yeah,
literally someone from the
If we're on
community writing
if we're on
about it.
the DJ Mag praise train, I'm just gonna hop there in the co-pilot seat with you. My favorite thing about DJ Mag and how they approach sort of I hate the term, but DEI. They have a guidebook for themselves that explains to themselves and to the public how they approach DEI. It's from a place of curiosity. It's a place of wanting to actual learn, immersion in actual cultures, platforming artists, and also platforming writers, right? And then they have an accountability scale for themselves that's also public facing, so that we can tell them, so that artists can tell them, so that other journalists can tell them if they're doing it right. So, like when we talk about how to normalize and integrate, just equity in really basic ways, DJ Mag is the standard bearer, and it's so unfortunate that we're talking about this from a lens of it being so brave. Like, oh, DJ Mag, you're so brave.
But
You know
the,
what
the,
I mean?
the same crack with the he/she/they thing. It's like, oh,
Yeah,
you might
it's
you might lose that next job because of it. I'm like, it's not the right
right,
job for me though. It's like, oh,
right.
it's just like, I don't know, like, oh, you were really rich with all that art, but you helped the Nazis. Like, do you know what I mean? It's like,
Sure.
it,
And Cara, I'm gonna get back to you in a second, but
sorry, sorry, sorry.
you have a reputation now, Cara, for sort of I'm not gonna say rocking the boat online, but people seem to just sort of have a very strong reaction to a lot of the things that you say on social media. And that's not a secret. You don't keep it secret. You also don't give a fuck, right? Like your give a fuck meter is like turned off to that end. So to a certain extent, it is really brave a little bit, unfortunately, for DJ Mac to say, we're gonna do a collab post, we're gonna fucking platform this queer anthem, we're gonna platform you who who doesn't have an a give a fuck meter, and let's go. Like Jon Snow, sword, hundreds of
Yeah.
soldiers like gift. Like so finish your story. But I just wanted to chime in on
So,
that.
unsurprising to everyone, including me, the post went up, and within seconds, the hate started flooding into the comments. And it wasn't just transphobic stuff. It was like fat phobic stuff. It was misogynist stuff. Um, and they I was kind of late to the party. I was like maybe 15 minutes late to the party, because I accepted the invite request maybe 10 minutes after it had posted. Um, that's what happens when you're driving all the time and you have to, do things when you're stopped at a 7-Eleven. And so I there were some comments that had started been deleted. And so I spoke with the author of the post, on a sidebar, and said, starting now, I want you to keep every single comment up, every single one. And I was like, I understand that what you're doing is coming from a place of safety. You don't want me to feel triggered. You don't want to trigger other people. You don't want me to feel unsafe. I respect that. I get that. However, right now, especially in the music, like especially within the dance music community, the greater dance music community. I'm not talking about our small circle of like pillars and influencers and tastemakers that aren't cognizant of the history and where we come from. I'm talking about the basic people who don't think about things at all, who go out to a club on a Saturday, take a couple of photos on Snapchat, and bounce. You know what I mean? Those people are blissfully unaware of just the magnitude of some of the hate that's brewing within this community, within a community that was born from a place of marginalized voices. And in some cases, some of these individuals, especially as it pertains online, and obviously I understand that they're protected by that veil of like anonymity that the internet gives us, but they're not afraid to gaslight you into believing that you're insane, that like you're overreacting, that like it can't possibly be that bad, and that everything it everything is pure peace, love, unity, and respect. There's absolutely no way that those people could exist in our community. And I was just like, bet, bet. And so like they kept to their word. All those comments are now there to see. Obviously, I'm getting dirty and reading people for filth, and maybe to my detriment, but like I think that just reinforced the importance of why this specific track at this specific time needed to come out,
Agree.
because it's a track about the importance of experiencing joy and of being able to be yourself without any fear of violence, of pushback, um, and it is a massive middle finger to the people who want to silence us, because it is a track where people literally are not being silenced. They are sharing their views. They are samples that will live on the internet forever of, people saying, we deserve the right to express ourselves. We deserve the right to be who we are. I'm proud of who I am. There's nothing that you can do about it. And on the flip side of that, for the artwork to just be countless faces of individuals from the LGBTQ community. Sorry, I'm getting worked up right now, and I'm sorry,
That's
but
fine.
people from the LGBTQ community, the vast majority of which on that album art, 99.9% of them are no longer with us because they were the victims of hatred, of homophobia, transphobia, and they're no longer with us. And so, people like to hide um, behind these individual things in the news. Oh, a trans girl had acid thrown on her face, or a trans woman was found dead in a ditch, or a queer person was walking home from a nightclub in Berlin, and this DJ and her girlfriend are beaten up for being who they are, and when those are just individual news stories, the average person who's not a part of our community, or the average person who has no idea of the magnitude of what's going on, it's easy to write it off as a one-off thing. But then when you're listening to this music and then you are confronted with an image of a sea of faces, not just one person. I could have very easily just kept it at like a photo of Matthew Shepard, a photo of Kai Shipley, a photo of, you know, like I could have just kept it to like maybe one or two people. A photo of Harvey Milk, who I think is maybe one of the biggest, most grandest examples of like someone who was killed for instilling hope into people who otherwise could not, feel hope anywhere. And landmarks like Pulse nightclub, which is just their 9-year anniversary was 2 days ago. Christopher Street, the Castro, like all of these individuals are no longer with us, and you'll notice that some of these photos are such shitty quality because they're photos of people from 50, 60 years ago.
Yeah,
This
it's
is
not.
not a new thing, and people like to pretend that it is. And like, I wanted this piece of music to be like, you know what, we're going to celebrate joy, we're going to do this, we're going to do that, but I am not going to let another fucking person gaslight us into thinking that we do not deserve this, or that this isn't a problem that's happening.
Exactly.
Like,
Yeah,
period, the end.
I have an image up for everybody that's with us of the artwork here, which you designed yourself, which I think is so beautiful, and just another sort of example of how personal this is to and for you. Um, and I don't think I'm so grateful for you guys coming here to have this conversation with me. Um, and one of the reasons I wanted to do this is, we've sort of normalized violence across society in so many
100%.
ways, and we're sort of bombarded with this idea of violence in a
It's
number
hard.
of
It's hard.
ways.
It's really hard to shock the average person.
It's very
Even
hard
the
to
pretty much
shock.
most gruesome thing, it's just like, oh, that's a shame. I wonder what it'll be tomorrow. And it's horrific.
Sure.
Like, because this is the thing with social media, I think, is almost like you're bombarded with so many different images at one point. Before, we all used to watch the news, something would come in the news and it would feel pivotal and it would be in one news cycle. But now it's just, I think it's almost because you see the sheer enormity of how many people in so many countries and so many, it's like, it's perverse how almost your brain has to normalize it to a degree so you don't go mad.
Sure. 100%. Um, I think that one of the reasons I wanted to have this conversation and focus on this song and focus on the artwork and talk about the impetus of this, art of revolution essentially that you guys partnered to bring to us is silence is violence too, especially when you're being blinded by your privileges, especially if, like you said earlier, Stephen, you have the luxury of sticking your head in the sand, of
Yeah.
saying, oh, I don't watch the news, I can't. Ugh, too overwhelming. You know, that's violent to the folks that have no choice but to pay attention, to keep our heads on a swivel, to be in tune with the things that are happening to people that look like us, that love like us.
I
um,
mean, look, I'm under no illusion that He.She.They would have been as successful so quickly had Sophia and I not managed a whole bunch of people that had made other people money, and that as a gay guy, I'm like straight kind of passing. If I have like not if I don't have my hair dyed, I'm like 6 foot, quite big guy, and I just wear black. So I think like there is also even that when you're dealing with a lot of these club owners and different people who tend to be like straight guys, that if I was more feminine, that misogyny would be an issue. If Sophia wasn't a white woman and was a black woman, it might be different. So like we just try to use like we acknowledge our privilege, like do you know what I mean? We are lucky, but then that's like, well, I think that it's not just acknowledging your privilege isn't enough. It's like therefore going, well, because I have this privilege, I should try and hold space to people who aren't as privileged. And it's and like privilege is a multifaceted thing, of course it is, and like you can be white and really poor, and in some other ways you can be less privileged at all. But it's just like we were just lucky, and also Sophia and I didn't get a particularly easy start in the music industry, so it's also that thing of like, well, therefore we want to lower the ladder for other people rather than that other thing of like pick me, and
yeah,
like there can be one
sure,
game at the table, so it's gonna be me.
yeah,
Or there's one woman, and it's like sometimes I find sometimes people from marginalized communities can either be the most open people or out toxic the other people. So it's like this weird thing, or like in queer culture, how one of our posts recently was about, yes, it's important to celebrate pride in ourselves, but also we do need to look at a community about what does racism look like in the queer community, and what does misogyny look like, and what does transphobia look like within trans community, like,
hmm
and like what people policing what it like other trans people policing other trans people and what it is to be trans, like, or some people discount the non-binary as a thing. It's like we sometimes have this thing about being LGBTQIA plus or by being women or being these different groups that we're somehow, because we're disadvantaged in one thing, we're just
as if we're
absolved.
inoculated from our own biases, right?
Exactly, and I would tell you that like in the queer community, I've seen some of the most rampant misogyny and racism, more so than in a lot of straight spaces. And it's just like we just need to address it. And we definitely lost some followers when we posted that. I'm not gonna lie. We gained some new ones. We lost some new ones. But I'm like, do you know what? If you were only here because we say nice things about queer people, but you don't want to do the rest of the fucking work,
Wrong
it's fine.
place.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Like there are definitely other parties for you,
Yeah.
but this one is about like doing what like when we do He.She.They, there's definitely like I get faced with my own biases or things like that, or I'm like, oh, where did that come from? Or like, oh shit, actually, I've never thought of this, or like even just like a lot of people like, oh, you acknowledge your privilege, which is good, and I'm like, we've of course I do. Like, I'm maybe it's because I'm quite a factual, literal guy. It's like, yeah, but it's just like it's true. Like, put you and I in a store, and let's see who the police detective follows. Like, it's just it's objective truth. And this is why I love what Babyweight did about the DJ Mag thing, because there are a lot of people who will go, and I totally understand why will censor comments on transness, on race, on different things. That it then becomes, well, look, that artist is posted and there's no comments there. There's maybe one or two. But when someone sees just how fucking much stuff people get, I mean, like, even like He.She.They, and people forget that I'm just a cis guy at the other end of doing the comments, like doing like the social media. Sometimes it's so face and Sasha, sometimes it's done, but it's largely me on that. And they're like, "Death to you, you trans motherfucker!" Like, da 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 da, like all this shit, like rape threats, that. And I'm like, just so you know, I'm a cis white guy, like, and then they're like, "What?" Yeah, I'm just not a piece of shit, and like, I just don't hate trans people because they're trans. Now, don't get me wrong. If someone's trans and they're an arsehole, I won't like them. And they won't be unsolved because they're trans. Like, there are plenty of people who are white who are arseholes, black who are arseholes. There are some lovely white people. There are lovely black people. There are lovely straight white guys, cis, rich people. There's all. Do you know what I mean? It's just like, but I won't. I'll base you on the color of your character, not on your skin type. But also, I think we should all have an equal chance to be nice. Like, so this is why I really love baby weight doing that because as well, I think it gives people strength to say like, oh no, you can face it down. It's not pleasant and it shouldn't happen, but you can do it. And that's not to say that like, there are some days where it's easier or it's harder to feel emboldened and empowered, but
Oh, it's exhausting.
yeah,
It's exhausting, and it's not like it would be less exhausting. And listen, I'm I'm not trying to give trolls fuel for the fire, but it would be less exhausting if they could at least come up with creative or funny things to say.
Girl, if the girls were funny and smart, it would be much more
Yeah,
entertaining at
I would
least.
actually maybe be like, you know what? I'm not going to engage with you because I know that you can read me much easier than I can read you. And you know what? Like to that to that extent, it's like okay, great. But like when you wind up engaging with someone who clearly you're smarter than or more creative than, but they just keep coming back and they like can't read a room like at all. It's like leave it to a DJ to be able to read a room. Like you're not at my level here. It's like there's this queer comedian named Caleb Heron, and he was talking about like somebody who came for him. He's like this very large individual. And he was like, this person came for me on Twitter one time. I was like, I don't know about you guys, but looks like this guy came in and ate all the pies. And he is like, ate all the pies? Like, are you some kind of 18th century limerick? Like, it's like, it's like, I've got they
Court
thems that
jester
are
face ass
shooters.
joke. That's so.
It's like, he's like, I will kill you with a gun. Like, just, and, I'm sitting here and one person is just like, oh, I hope you don't cry at the bottom of the ocean, like, or whatever you whales do. And I'm like, ha, a fat joke aimed at somebody whose name is baby weight. Really? Or somebody being like, I'm sitting here going like, LGBTQ people and persons of color are, why dance music exists in the first place, and this, that, and the other. And someone was like, I don't think any of the pioneers of electronic music, like Kraftwerk or Wendy Carlos, are part of any of those communities that you just listed. And I'm going, Wendy Carlos? Really? The most famous transgender musician of all time, who literally pioneered the synthesizer and made it relatable to the average human being with switched on Bach? Do we want to have this conversation, sir? Like,
No, the girls can't read.
but they're just
and
stupid. A lot of them. This is the thing. They just. I mean, Cara tries to be a bit more erudite, and sometimes I'll just be like, "Fuck off, you're an idiot." Like,
100%.
because sometimes it's just like it is what it is, and like, are you really that fucking stupid? Are you really saying that? And it's just like, but I used to get like annoyed and more annoyed on other people's behalfs than my own, because I'm just like, meh, if it's a me. But then I'm just like, I must admit, I've become friends with the block button, and I'm like, that person is just there to waste my time when I could be doing it for some better intention. Like, and I'll just be like, yeah, no, block, you're an arsehole. and
I wish I had that bone in my body, but sadly I don't block people because I want to waste their time.
Yeah, you're
ooh,
a clapbacker all the way. But listen, we've been at this for an hour. Leave it to us homos. We could be here for another several hours. Um, I want to leave on a note of optimism.
Yes.
Tara, like, talk to the public about the importance of art as queer liberation. Talk to the people about how they can live, especially the artists, the creatives, the queer babies, the gabies, and the babies that are watching you right now.
Yeah.
Give them some encouragement about how to create from an authentic place, how to be an artist, how to thrive in this business from an authentic place of integrity. Give them some hope.
Well, art is inherently political. Anybody who wants to gaslight you into thinking that it's not is speaking from a place of privilege. Um, and we, as queer individuals, our existence, just our physical being, is a political statement because we challenge the status quo. Whether or not people want to accept that, that's on them. And it's hard being authentic. People, yeah, it's the most cliched story. People want to box you in. People want, it's people want you to be uh, thinner, taller, whiter, um, more accessible, um, candy coated. And it's a lot to ask of anybody. It's almost impossible to to accomplish all of those things. And I think of the monologue from the groundbreaking Hollywood hit Barbie that straight up boils that down.
that monologue is
Um,
great. Can I just say?
yeah, it is the most concise argument of what it feels like to be part of a marginalized group, and you can apply that monologue to being queer, to being a person of color, to being an immigrant, to being a woman, um, to being gender diverse, like you name it. And I think, especially now at a time where we have a commander in chief in the United States who is censoring art, not just books, which, like, books have been censored for years, sadly. But now he's going so far as to dictate what can be performed at the Kennedy Center, what can be, shown on social media forums, what can, it's a form of silence that is deafening. And it's really easy to get lost in the quagmire of that. But if you can rely on your community and you can find the energy to pick yourself up, put on some pants, walk outside, get some sunshine, take a deep breath, and move on with your day. Just having the commitment to that is a form of revolt in and of itself, because it means that you are living another day at a time when people don't want you around. Um, and so, it's like, if you're having issues struggling with your art, struggling with your music, this, that, or the other, take a step back and look at the grander picture that we as human beings are art ourselves. The fact that the probability of you even being alive is so infinitely, so it's so small because you're floating on a space rock in infinite nothingness that is constantly expanding. And if we were to if we were to look at a calendar and look at the however billions of years that this Earth has been on, just realizing that we are in the last, that humanity has only been alive during the last 20 seconds of the last day of the calendar, December 31st, 11:59 p.m., 40 seconds in. Like, honey, the fact that you're even here is a miracle. And miracles are things that cannot be explained, but they're precious. And so take what you want from that TED Talk, but ultimately, your existence is resistance. And do whatever you can to cherish that and champion that and take that to heart. Cool. Awesome. Somebody sampled that, put that in a pride pack, put that in a trap.
This is being recorded. Maybe this whole fucking talk is going to be sampled in the next HE.SHE.THEY.
And I would say that, like, you know, even the fact that me being like a queer guy, he's now global head of events for like a label like Defected and Glitterbox, which is now owned, and the CEO is someone who's got a gay kid who therefore gets stuff, and Wes lets me go do whatever. Like, you've got Sophia, who is a female and like lead of a label like HE.SHE.THEY. You've got LP, like, and a plethora of other women, queer people, trans people that are setting up their own labels and doing things on their terms because they can. Like, you've got Ronnie, who's the head of electronic, who's an Asian woman in America, and then you've got the head of dance for Spotify in the UK is a woman. It's like, it is it's annoying and it's frustrating and it could be faster, but like, you've got Ibiza now has Honey Dijon with her own night as a black trans woman who's got her own super club residency, and now you're starting to get like Blondish has got one and a few people. Again, it could be sooner, it could be faster, it could be all of the things, but it is happening and it is moving forward. And I would also just say, like, success, obviously, in an ideal world, we can all pay our bills by doing what we love. But that success isn't only just, especially I think as an artist, having plaques on the wall of platinum and gold. It is actually putting out music that you really want to put out exactly how you want to put it out in an undiluted way. Like, that's really, really important. And not just from HE, there are loads of other labels, and also the fact that you can do things on AWAL or DistroKid and put your own music up there, or you can have it on Instagram and YouTube and all these different things. There's never been as many outlets for you not to be gate kept in that way. Like, 30 years ago, unless one of the major labels or someone like Nervous or whatever picked up your record, and that's it. And like, it's actually way harder because you didn't have the democratization of, obviously, again, laptops are expensive, but there's more people who can go download Fruity Loops or something like that and start making records. So I think that's really exciting. You don't always need a band of 4 or 5 people. You don't even have to build your own synthesizers like Wendy and people did. So just in that message of hope as well, it's like, I think I think it's, well, at least in that phase of things where we're having a bit of an awakening and like realizing it can't be as it was. It can't be that people get sexually assaulted and have to just, that's part of the job. It can't just be that, like that the artists are like just made to constantly work out and just for other people to get money out of them like some kind of battery chicken. But also, we're also recognizing that the managers, the PR people, the glass collector in the club, the cleaner shouldn't also just be treated like shit, and their mental health that matters, and that this isn't just like sometimes I think at different times we've gone about like, oh, we need to improve things for women or black people or gay people or whatever. But we're actually looking that all those things are important and intersectionality of that, and that like it might be more difficult for one person than another person. Even looking at things now like colorism and things like that, that like again, obviously that like white people looking at colorism, I should say, maybe more so. It was always like a thing if you were actually a person of color, but just having those discussions, the fact that white people are having those discussions, and it's not just black people having discussions about racism, that straight people are having conversations about how to improve like LGBTQ access to how to reduce transphobia and homophobia without having to have it instigated by queer people, and not because it's been mandated, but because they think it's the right thing to do. Like because they have gay friends and they're fighting for people who aren't in the room with them. That men are slowly taking it upon themselves to go, what do we do about misogyny when it's not just women in the room, like arguing about it? So I do, just on a voice of hope, again, change can never come fast enough, but I do think that we're starting to. Well, there's the one good thing about COVID, I think, that people stopped still and looked at Stop Asian Hate and transphobia and Black Lives Matter, and might some of it get worse before it gets better under the Trump's thing, maybe. But like, I think there's more people who dislike J.K. Rowling than like her. You know, I think there's more people. Like, look at Trump's parade versus No Kings. Like, it's just it it is getting better. I hope. I think maybe I'm
It
naive.
is. It
Maybe I'm
is.
hopeful, but I think it
I
is.
don't. I don't think that you're naive. I think that an easy way to tell that it's getting better is the boot is getting more staunchly and pronouncedly on our necks,
Yeah,
and that's
yeah, yeah.
because
Because people are
the
scared
stuff
of us. Even. Yeah.
people are scared of us. We are
And
gaining the
can I
power
can
that
I add one more thing on the topic of
please.
hope? Because this is specifically now I'm talking specifically to anybody who considers themselves an ally that might be watching this. Um,
Mm,
Hope is a two-way street. Okay, it can't 100% be on the backs of the marginalized communities to create hope for themselves. If you consider an ally, if you consider yourself an ally, and you're only speaking up when it's advantageous to you. Okay. And this is a problem that I've seen for several years through the music industry. Come Pride Month, come International Women's Month, come, Black History Month, the allies love to come out and say, you know, trans lives matter, pride matters, I love women, women are great. You know, if you're showing up for only one social media post once a year, that is not allyship. That is performance. There is a difference. And we need the people with privilege who are not part of these communities, but like to consider themselves, one of our friends, one of our allies, like one of the people backing us up. We need you to show up and to speak up when it's difficult to do it, not
Okay.
just when it's easy. Okay. Like, we need you when, when a trans kid like Brianna Gay is killed for being who they are, right? Instead of talking about taking a second to send out a funny tweet about a bender or this, that, or the other. We need you, if it's on your radar, stop, take a second and say, this is fucked. We need to do better by, you know, by these people,
Mhm.
especially if you're in an industry like dance music that has been built upon the backs of these communities that created this music so that they could experience joy in their own safe spaces before it got co opted by the mainstream. Period. The end. And thankfully, and hell is freezing over, okay, but I'm going to shout this person out, okay? John Summit, thank you for finally fucking saying something,
Summit.
okay?
Thanks, girl.
All right, like the fact that this person put his ego aside, knowing that it would piss off a lot of his followers, and say not just fuck ICE, but also, you know, like, thank God I weeded out some of these homophobes and racists. Maybe my fans will, the crowds at my shows will be better as a result of this. The fact that not only was he aware of it and he said something about it, but like, we need more people at his level calling things out for what they are. And granted, y'all are going to lose some fans that's just the way it is. Y'all are going to lose some people who don't want politics and in to mix with their pleasure. But like, honestly, in the grand scope of things, the more people that speak up that aren't from these communities, sadly, the more it normalizes the experiences of the communities that are under threat. And so, like, y'all need to speak up more often.
And you know what? Like with HE.SHE.THEY, like Eats Everything, Ewan McVicker, Fiac, Ben Clock, Marcel Detman, a lot of these people will play for less so that we have money to go and spend on other artists and know that they've got the burn of the tickets are on them so that we can be more playful with the other elements and more so because a lot of times when we do HE.SHE.THEY, the club pays and we have to like work out the the lineup with them. But like it's it's quite nice. There is also just to, again just in the thing with Hope, speaking up's really important, and a lot of them do like Eats Everything, Patrick Toppin, like a whole bunch of people who would do stuff that might rock their fan base. But there's also, I think, as well as doing the denouncing stuff on Facebook or Instagram, I do really respect the ones that will actually go like, do you know what? I'll play for you for less because I know that you guys aren't really making a drink out of this gig, and I know that it'll allow us you to go X, Y, and Z because when like I mean like someone like Ben gave up like half his feet so he could go and play so we could go and do it how we wanted to do it, and I'm like that's real, genuine. It's, you know, it's gonna mean he can't have as much DoorDash that like month or whatever. But it's like, I know it's not gonna bankrupt him, but it's just like it is a genuine. Like nobody knows unless someone like that me says it. You know, this was one of the things that pissed me off when I was managing Maya. I was like, people would go and have a go at her on stuff, and I'm like, she's a very private person, but I know that she's given a lot, and I mean a lot, of money to charity to help a lot of people. So it's like sometimes it's the work that you don't see as well, married with the work that you do see. And I think that's it. I think it's a combination of both things. But yeah,
I'll say this. Listen, the theme of this Pride this year is the fabric of freedom, and to me, fabric is only as strong as the very many threads that bind it together. It's important that those of us with privilege use it in the ways that make sense to ourselves and to our communities to positively make impact. It is the privilege of those of us that have power and the duty of those of us that have power behind the scenes, those of us that consider ourselves arbiters, gatekeepers, to use that and leverage that in as many ways as we can to help people that don't have that, to platform people that don't have that. It's really about sharing space, sharing openness, having nuanced, thoughtful, meaningful conversations like this one, and continuing to do all that we can as individuals to benefit as much of the collective as we can. I'm so grateful to both of you for sharing space, for sharing your insight, for sharing a lot of vulnerability here. Kara, this is a masterwork to me as someone that loves you deeply and is very, very privileged to be in personal relationship with you. This is 100% a turning point for you personally as an artist and as a future legend. And I'm so, so glad that you let us get into it with you here about it.
Thank
Stephen, thank
you.
you for all you do for the community, for all that you do for FemHouse, for the ways that he, she, they, and for the ways that he, she, they shows up and makes meaningful impact behind the scenes, in front of the scenes. I'm really, really grateful, and FemHouse is really, really grateful to stand in this fight, to stand in solidarity with you as we move toward meaningful equity in this industry that, girl, you better love this industry. The money's not gonna keep you here. The perks are gonna
Yeah,
be
exactly.
the perks are gonna be fun for the first 5, 10 years, but then
You
you're
look
just like,
around and you're
bitch,
like, when
not
is
another festival, girl. So like, it is an honor to be soldier in arms with you both, and I'm really, really grateful and proud to be in community with you both. So thank you.
oh, and vice versa. Thank you so much for just being great and putting up with us two for an hour and a half.
Yeah, thank
Always
you.
well. Always well.
Yeah.
That's it, girl.
All right.
Oh.
I
Oh,
love you both.
Imagine if we had the tutorial as well.
I
It
know,
yeah,
girl. We would have
yeah.
been here until
would have been
tomorrow.
gone on for 3 hours.
That the old woman from Titanic would be like, shit. She was saying like, is like that was what I lived through was 84 years ago, but that.
Girl, the edits that are gonna go up in this YouTube is gonna gag you. I love you all. Thank
Uh,
you. That's it.
Take care,
See ya.
lovely. Bye, bye.
Bye.
Bye.